Hello. I have a wet thing on my head. Oh, it's the piece of t-shirt I had on around my neck the other day. Now it's on my head because it's hot. I'm ready for winter. I'll just wait. I'll just wait for people. I had a nice breakfast sandwich. A breakfast croissant with a whole bunch of yummy egg, some ham. Although I said, I asked for no ham. I said, can I have bacon instead of ham? But I got ham and cheese and tomato and lettuce, and it was really good. So I'm feeling a bit energetic to read. Shall we? Who's here? Hello. I'm going to try not to look out the window all the time, okay? It's a habit of mine. I'm a nosy neighbor. I'm not really, but I like to know what's going on. Hi, Bob Bobber. Your name's funny. That's not your real name, is it? Bob Bobber. Robert Bobber? I'm doing okay. I'm really enjoying doing the live reading. I really want to find out what happens in this book. I have to check my battery now and then to make sure it's charging. Although it was charging, it said charging yesterday the whole time, but it still went down. I guess because it's doing a lot of work. Oh my gosh, really, we're almost finished. I'm Bob Bobber, son of Robert Robertson. Oh my, Robbie Robertson. Wasn't he a music guy? Or is? I don't know. Oh yeah, I remember yesterday when I finished chapter 14, I said the next chapter is called An Exciting Paragraph. I said, it's not what it is. It's an exciting photograph. When I was listening back, I was like, the next chapter is called An Exciting Paragraph. Just one. Within the whole chapter, there's only one exciting paragraph. What happened at the end? Oh yeah, there was another code. They went to the just calls for a police investigation. Right. Nancy. Where was she? I forgot. I forgot where Nancy was. But they found her, and there's a gang or something. And right at the end, there was Chief Burke. When you searched the prisoner, right, the bewhiskered man, did you find anything special of special interest on him? Chief Burke opened a drawer in his desk, pictures taken out. I hate ebooks. Ebooks are the devil. Nancy inquired. The officer handed the paper to her. The instant Nancy saw the two words, she was sure this was a code signal. It read, Wolf's Eye. I'm going to turn the chat off when I start reading, as I usually do, because I get too distracted. This thing is tight around my head. I'm waiting for that sensitivity to coldness from chemotherapy. Please, that's the side effect I want. Got my big glass. Okay, one time I drank out of this glass that was shaped like a boot. It was big, and this reminds me of it, but it was shaped like a boot. And when you would drink it, it would like go glug, glug, glug. And I want to get one of those boot glasses. It looks like a boot. And some kind of, the way that it works, the science of it makes it do funny things. And I want one. I had cancer. Well, it's all gone, but I'm having preventative chemotherapy. I had my first treatment 5 days ago. Today's the 19th. Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good so far. Waiting for my hair to fall out. I had my wig on. I feel like putting my wig on. Well, I'm just going to put it on, okay? Because it's right on the wall in front of me. I have my scalps on the wall. So I'm going to put my ginger wig back on. This is the one I had on when I went out because it's lighter. Thank you. Yep. I'm very lucky. I have a great hospital too. I love my hospital. Well, that doesn't look right. You have to put it on the proper way or it just doesn't look right. I have red eye makeup on. It looks kind of cuckoo. Okay. There, now it feels more fun. With the big ginger hair. Well, no. I need this around my neck. I need a big, one of those fridges, like a meat locker to hang out in. It's nice and cold. All right, shall we begin chapter? Look at this. Look how much we've read. We only have this much left. Oh my gosh. I'm hot. Okay. I looked at the Roman numerals and I was like, what? Chapter XV. Wait a minute. I have to adjust myself. All right. Chapter. Wow. I can read a 300-page book in about 300 days. Yeah, I'm not a fast reader. I don't want to be a fast reader. I like doing things slowly. I'm slow now. I'm a turtle. All right, I'm going to turn off the chat for me, just so my brain focuses on one thing. Chapter 15, an exciting photograph. Neither Nancy nor the police detectives could shed any light on the mysterious words, Wolf's Eye. But please let me know if you find out what it means, Nancy requested. Also, if your prisoner talks, or if you have any word about my stolen car. Seriously, when's she going to find her car? Chief Burke promised, adding that he was sorry that his men had not been able to pick up one single lead on Nancy's convertible. I certainly do miss it, said Nancy. But right now we have transportation. She shot a grateful look at Ned, and the officer smiled. When Nancy and her friends reached the motel, Mrs. Thompson said that Jody Armstrong had been trying all day to get in touch with them. She wants you girls to come to a picnic supper at her home. Picnic? Oh, I want to go on a picnic. Okay, ramble. I want to go on a picnic. I want potato salad. I want lemonade. I want a big steak. I want strawberry shortcake. And watermelon. And some other things too. That's sweet of her, said Nancy. I'll call her right away. Out of earshot of the others, Nancy telephoned Jody. After thanking her for the invitation, Nancy said that 3 friends of hers were there for the night, so she would not be able to accept. "Oh, bring them along," said Jody. "The more the merrier." "Is this a picnic party just for girls?" Nancy asked hesitantly. "Oh, no," Jody replied. "It's a co-ed party." She giggled. "Are your friends boys?" "Yes, they are." "Wonderful!" Jody cried joyfully. "I'll expect you all at 7. The boys were delighted. Ned remarked with a twinkle in his eye, "I'll be glad to see you relax for once, Nancy. I'm sure there won't be any mystery at the picnic." "Sure, Jan." The 3 girls looked at one another. They said nothing to the boys, but were hopeful they would pick up a clue there regarding Jody Armstrong's adoption. The Armstrong backyard was large and very attractive. There was a beautiful velvet green lawn surrounded by deep flower beds. The scent of roses pervaded the warm night air. Doesn't that sound nice, except for the warm night air? I prefer cool night air. At one side was a long buffet table with tempting salad bowls and platters of snacks. There was a large punch bowl in the center, brimming with ice-cold punch. Farther along at the side of the garden was a stone fireplace for outdoor cooking. A boy about 18 years old stood there, grinning. He wore a large white apron and a chef's cap. "This picnic sounds awesome. Who wants to go on a picnic?" Me. Many young people had already gathered when Nancy and her friends arrived. Jody, a gracious hostess, immediately introduced the group. When they came to the chef, Jody giggled. "This is my cousin, Harvey Smith. He's the best cookout chef in the country. Isn't he a riot in that outfit?" "It's just a chef outfit." Harvey acknowledged the introduction and said, chuckling, It's one way to get yourself invited to all the parties." Nancy, Ned, and the others seated themselves on mats on the ground with the other guests. They thoroughly enjoyed the evening. Bert declared that Harvey's steaks were the best he had ever eaten. The rest of the menu included potato chips, several kinds of salad, vanilla ice cream topped with fresh fruit, and cake. Finally, some food in this book. "I'm stuffed," Dave said with a groan as he finished the last crumb of cake. As he spoke, the strumming of a guitar could be heard. Looking up, the River Heights visitors and their escorts saw a young man standing at the edge of the crowd. The musician began to sing. First came a humorous song about a hillbilly and his first store-bought shoes. Each verse ended with, "Ow, they pinch! Ow, they hurt." Okay. Soon he was playing familiar songs. Everyone at the picnic joined in. This was followed by a side-splitting skit by one of the couples. They represented 2 travelers who had met on a cruise. They could not speak each other's language, but each was trying to tell the other how to get back to the same hotel. Before anyone realized the time, one of Jody's friends said, "My goodness, it's almost 12 o'clock." That seemed to be a signal for everyone to leave. Nancy and her friends went to say good night to their hostess. When Nancy reached Jody, the girl said, "Oh, please don't go yet. I have something upstairs I want to show you. Wait until all the other guests except your friends have gone. My cousin wants to talk to them anyway." "All right." Nancy and her friends walked over toward a particularly beautiful part of the flower garden. There were a couple of benches here, and they all sat down. Harvey Smith joined them. Presently, the last of the other guests had said good night. Jody came over and beckoned to Nancy. To the others, she said, I won't keep her long. I'm tired. I'm tired. Hungry again. The egg was good. It's good to have protein. I need meat. Meat. Apparently, I'm not supposed to eat deli meat. It's like cold cuts and stuff. And I had just bought a big thing of garlic bologna, like a big, because I like bologna. Well, I can eat it, but it has to be like cooked hot. Gross. That's okay. I've eaten hot bologna sandwiches, like fried bologna. It's no biggie, but I feel like eating cold food. Like, oh, I want a salad. Ooh, it would be good. Chicken Caesar salad. That would be good. I want a chicken Caesar salad. Real bad. What day is it? Calendar check. I need glasses. It's Tuesday the 19th. Tomorrow's garbage day. Well, no, tomorrow's take out the garbage day. Thursday's garbage day. Okay. I don't understand how the garbage men work, but okay. I'm not going to go off on a tangent about that. Ooh. Okay. Let's get back to the book, shall we? Let's find out what this photograph is. The two girls went upstairs to Jody's bedroom, which was dainty and girlish with its white muslin draperies and hand-embroidered bedspread. Mother said that when you were here yesterday, you mentioned childhood pictures of me, Jody began. Well, we haven't looked at them in ages, so just for laughs, I went up to the attic last night and unearthed them. Would you still like to see them? Oh, yes, Nancy responded. Most of the pictures were in boxes. The first one Jody picked up held photographs of her at the age of 12. There was nothing about this girl that looked like the 3-year-old whose photograph Nancy had in her purse. I guess you were always cute, said Nancy, smiling. She mentioned the dress Jody was wearing in the picture, and the two girls laughed over it. You wouldn't think styles for kids would change so quickly, Jody remarked. And my hair! A 12-year-old today wouldn't look a bit like that. Jody kept going backward in time as Nancy concealed her impatience. But finally, she reached the last box and said, These pictures were taken soon after my mother and father adopted me. Jody smiled. Adopted children are very lucky because they're chosen and keenly wanted by their adoptive parents. Nancy agreed and added that the Armstrongs were wonderful people. You're fortunate to have found one another. At that moment, Mrs. Armstrong called Jody. Will you please come downstairs for a minute, dear? She asked. Of course, Mother. Jody turned to Nancy. I won't be away long. You go right ahead looking at the pictures. Nancy was delighted to be left alone. Quickly, she opened the last box and picked up a photograph. Her pulse quickened as she opened her purse and took out the picture of Joni Horton, taken only about 6 months before the other one. This was the same child. Jody Armstrong and Joni Horton are the same person, Nancy thought. Her mother didn't leave her under mysterious circumstances. Her parents weren't living. She was kidnapped. I'm sure Jody and Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong will want to know the truth. And it will bring such happiness to the Bowens to know their granddaughter is alive and happy. Oh my God, big revelations. And Jody is the rightful heir to Mrs. Horton's estate. That 21-year-old girl who claimed it brought... Ugh, I can't read Nancy Drew books. It's like too intense for me. I'm trying to get through this sentence. And Jody is the rightful heir to Mrs. Horton's estate. That 21-year-old girl who claimed it brought forged identification papers with her from New York. Okay, sure. I forgot all that by now. Many suppositions raced through Nancy's mind. First of all, she must keep her findings a secret until she could talk to her father. Who was back of the whole scheme? Who had kidnapped little Joni and left her at the adoption society? The girl who later impersonated her, or someone else? Where was that girl now? In San Francisco? Was any of the estate money left after all this time? One thing is sure, Nancy told herself. The people responsible for this deception are determined I'm not going to upset anything. She chuckled. But I've uncovered their evil scheme. Suddenly, she heard Jody coming back upstairs. Quickly, Nancy tucked her own photograph of Joni Horton into her purse. This is a big chapter. Whew. So much information. Does everyone remember all the stuff we read before? What? I'm only reading 2 books, right? Moonstone Castle Mystery and The Hidden Staircase. And they're for youths. They're youth's books. But it's like, my brain, man. My brain can't handle all that information. Yeah, many times I can't solve these mysteries. It's too much for me. I could never be a private investigator. That's okay because I don't want to be a private investigator. There are people who want to do that, thankfully. I'm not one of them. Would you like to be a private investigator? As Jody walked into the room, Nancy said, "Thanks a million for showing me the pictures. You were a darling to go to waiting any longer. I want a picnic." Nancy kept the secret to herself until the young people had driven back to the motel and the girls had said goodnight to the boys. Then, when she was in her room with Bess and George, Nancy told them the exciting news. "Oh, Nancy, you are absolutely marvelous," Bess said. "Now Jody can learn the truth and get all that money." George took a more practical view of the matter. "There may not be 1 cent of it left," she said. "I think it would be better if matters stay the way they are and Jody never finds out." You're wrong, George. "No matter what we do," said Nancy, "you must help me keep this a secret." Her friends promised. Then Bess asked, "What are you going to do?" Oh, by the way, I can't wait to start the next Nancy Drew Files book. Here it is. It's going to be our 3rd. This one, I started reading it myself. And it's really fun. Judo Chop. I'm not sure who this guy is. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in the book, but I don't know if he's the guy who's missing. I don't think he's the guy who's missing. Oops, that's not a spoiler. See, I'm here. I've read this much so far. I'm on chapter 4. It's fun. Well, I love the 80s books. Anyway, that's going to be a fun one to read. It's like 3 different eras, right? We've got the 1931. This one is from the 60s, I think. 1963, and then 80s. I don't really like to go past the 80s. Like early 90s is okay, maybe, but after that, no, I'm not interested. Nancy said that at this point, she thought her father should take over the case. He'll decide what is the best move to make. Dad will know how to break the news to the Bowens and see what they want to do. Now that you've solved the case, I suppose we'll go home, Bess remarked. Oh no, Nancy said quickly. I haven't solved anything except the identification of Jody Armstrong. Don't forget that her grandmother's estate was stolen. Now we have to concentrate on unraveling that mystery. Bess and George knew that Nancy suspected Mr. Seaman, the other mysterious man who had followed her, and the bewhiskered fellow they had caught in the castle. Both girls said they would stay with her and continue their work. The three, sorry, my mouth wasn't working properly. Battery check. Oh, I've lost 10%. Okay. The three friends were up early to say goodbye to the boys. Ned and the other boys begged the girls to be careful in their sleuthing. I'm mighty glad we were here to help you capture that fellow, said Ned. But don't try going to that castle by yourselves. Sure, Ned, we won't. Nancy smiled. Next time I'll take a handsome young policeman, she teased. As soon as the boys had driven off, Nancy went to the phone and tried to reach her father. He still had not returned to the San Francisco hotel. She then called her home in River Heights. She told Hannah Gruen of her exciting discovery and asked the housekeeper to try reaching Mr. Drew in California to give him the information. I'll keep calling, the housekeeper promised. It's too bad I didn't know this yesterday. Your father phoned last night, said he had tried you at the Longview, but learned you were out and didn't leave his name. So he gave some interesting information to pass along to you. What is it? Nancy asked quickly. Mrs. Gruen said that Mr. Drew had tracked down a Joni Horton who had come from the East. She is now married, Nancy said excitedly. It looks that way. This case may be drawing to a close. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful? Nancy exclaimed. In any event, I'll be glad when you come back home, the housekeeper said wistfully. It's too quiet here. Where's my bookmark? Salad, chicken Caesar salad. Or just a big chicken. Chicken. I'm in a chicken mood. I haven't had chicken for a while. I'm trying to stay away from fried foods and spicy foods, really fatty foods. I mean, Caesar salad is pretty fattening, but the chicken's good. It's too quiet here. I'm sure it won't be long, Nancy said cheerfully. Well, bye for now. When Nancy relayed the information to Bess and George, they too were excited. Well, what course shall we follow, Captain Drew? George asked. Nancy thought a moment, then answered, Let's have an early lunch at the Brass Kettle. If Mrs. Hempstead is there, I'll ask her if Mr. Seaman has been around. But we haven't even had breakfast yet, Bess spoke up. What are we going to do between now and lunchtime? Nancy suggested that a walk would do the girls good. Let's hike down to that diner. What diner? Okay. The girls ate a tasty breakfast. Then Nancy said, how about going over to police headquarters to see if Chief Burke has any news? I think that's the handsome police officer she's talking about. Does Nancy have a thing for Chief Burke? Who was that? It was a strange message in the parchment, right? There was a policeman in that I decided was cute. There's no picture of him. I just decided he was handsome. The three girls hurried to headquarters. They were shown at once to the police chief's office. Chief Burke looked up and said genially, you must be mind readers. I was just going to get in touch with you. Do you have any news for us? Nancy asked. Yes, indeed. Your bewhiskered prisoner has talked. End of chapter 15. Wow. Guess what chapter 16 is called? Reptile guard. A snake, perhaps? Or a lizard? Ooh, there was a lot happening in that chapter. And I keep thinking about chickens and Caesar salad right now. Oh. Yeah, there was like food in that chapter finally. We had a picnic. There was some teasing of Ned. That was good. I'm not going to read any Outsiders today, although I was really enjoying reading The Outsiders. I would like to read so many things. I have to finish Anne of Green Gables. I have to finish a book that somebody is actually paying me to read for them. But I feel like I'm not up to my regular standards. So I've been putting it on hold because I want it to sound really well, really good, you know? Who's here? Oh, wait, I can turn the chat back on now. I'm reading. I really like a good chicken Cobb salad. Ooh, I'm not sure what a Cobb salad is. Hello, Yvonne. Just want to say I thoroughly enjoy your reading of Nancy Drew. You really make the characters come alive. Thank you for sharing your amazing talent. Thank you. I love compliments. I'm not good with compliments because like I'm still very self-conscious when I read. That's just the way I am. And that's okay. Hey, what was that? Chapter 15? So we have 5 more chapters. I just want to look at the names of the chapters. When you start a book, do you look at the title chapters? I mean, the names of them. Do you want me to read them to you? Okay, there's Reptile Guard, Telltale Tracks, Worried Plotters, A Cry for Help, Wolf's Eye Surprise. I really want to read the one where she goes to Florida. Wait, there's more than one of those. Because the Kennedy Space Center one we read, that's in Florida, obviously. But the crocodile one, I want to read the crocodile one because it's in Florida and I want to go to Florida. I've been to Florida twice, once in 1987 and once in 1993, but I want to go again. And this time I want to see, like, I went with my family and it was great. And we did all the theme park stuff, you know, I love Donald Duck. And we went to Busch Gardens and SeaWorld and all that jazz. But I want to see some historical stuff. I don't want to hang out on beaches because that's really not my thing. I want to see some historic sites. Like old-timey stuff or whatever. And I want to hang out in some shade. That's about it. have some good eats, collect a shell or two, maybe see Donald Duck. Oh, drink Donald Duck orange juice. All right. I guess I'm gonna go. I don't even know what time it is. Oh my gosh, it's only 12:14. But as soon as I press stop, I'm taking my hair off. And I need to re-wet my my t-shirt necklace. Get off me. I don't feel like turning it off though. It's fun. It's fun to like read into the phone. Actually, I want to go outside. Just step outside for a while because it's cooler outside than it is indoors. See, I'm just sitting here not entertaining anyone right now. I'm just sitting. You say something to me. Okay. Yeah, I like a chicken Cobb salad. Good read today. I'll pack the sandwiches. Hey, oh, hello. I'm doing well, thank you. There, I read all the messages. I'm gonna go now because I don't know. Should I be hungry? It was a good filling sandwich, but I want to eat something else now. Yuck. All right. Why don't we read another chapter? Oh, there's a picture in this one. There's another picture. Ah, what is that? Oh, okay. I see what it is. The Reptile Guard chapter has a picture in it. Okay, let's keep reading. Okay. Chapter 16, Reptile Guard. The prisoner has confessed? Nancy eagerly asked the police chief. Not completely, the officer replied. But he did tell us his name. It's Jake Suggs. Suggs? Is that how you pronounce that? Suggs. Jake Suggs. I suggest you look that up. And he was living at the castle? Yes. Chief Burke went on to say that the prisoner had suddenly called one of the guards and cried out, "I'm not going to be responsible for a murder." Nancy's eyes widened in wonder, as did those of Bess and George. "Murder," Nancy repeated. "That's what he said," Chief Burke continued. "Then this man Suggs said, 'There's a man hidden in the cellar of the castle. He's sick. If you don't get him out of there, he'll die.'" "Did you get him out?" Bess asked breathlessly. "Is that Mr. Wheeler? Remember Mr. Wheeler? The guy who was he a lawyer or something? And he was like, 'Oh, young girls.' And then he got all weird and bipolar on them. Then he got kidnapped from the hospital. Is that the guy in the castle?" The officer nodded. And now here's the big surprise. The prisoner in the cellar was Mr. Wheeler. I should just shut up and read, right? The girls were dumbfounded. Finally, Nancy found her voice to say, "Thank goodness! How is he?" Chief Burke said that Mr. Wheeler had been taken to the hospital and was now under heavy guard. He had been fed and well cared for by Suggs, but was too weak to escape. So Suggs is a good guy or bad guy? I'm confused. "Did you learn anything else from either Mr. Wheeler or Suggs?" Nancy queried. Not a thing. Mr. Wheeler evidently was put to sleep before he was taken from the hospital and knew nothing more until he awakened in a dark room in a castle cellar. This makes me want to watch old haunted house movies, like those British ones, those Hammer horror movies, like the old Gothic kind of ones. No one had questioned him, and except for the care Suggs gave him, the retired lawyer was left alone. Suggs merely said some people brought Mr. Wheeler to the castle and paid him to take care of the lawyer. Who were they? Nancy asked. I wish I knew, said Chief Burke. Then the officer's stern expression relaxed, and he smiled slightly. I thought you might be interested in Suggs' story about the bats, he said. Do you hear the dog barking? I don't mind that at all. There's a cute little dog across the road. He let them remain there to frighten away any intruders. Bess giggled. They did that all right. They did that all right, she said, hunching her shoulders reminiscently in disgust. The chief turned to Nancy. Miss Detective, have you any idea who brought Mr. Wheeler to the castle? I'm afraid not, but I'd certainly like to find them. I'll bet Nancy will find them, George spoke up. George. Nancy now said that she thought Suggs knew much more than he was telling. For instance, before Mr. Wheeler was kidnapped, George and I went to the castle and were warned away when we were about to enter. Furthermore, we saw a car leaving there that same day. Also, through binoculars I used on the hill, I saw Suggs signaling from the tower. The day Suggs was captured, my friend Ned Nickerson was in the cellar searching and didn't see Mr. Wheeler. That's not surprising, said the officer. Mr. Wheeler was in a room with a well-camouflaged door. Great. You're just discovering Nancy Drew. That's awesome. There's plenty more where that came from. He went on to say that the police were still searching for the kidnappers, of course, but had to admit that they did not have a single lead, and Suggs refused to give names. And I'm afraid we have no word on your car, Miss Drew. Nancy's car is a lost cause. It's going to show up in some silly way. Nancy had a sudden idea. She knew the chief would think it far-fetched. Since he had no notion, she connected the mystery of Mr. Wheeler's abduction with the mystery about which he knew nothing, that of Joni Horton's kidnapping. Aloud, she said, if there's a gang around here hiding things at the castle, maybe my convertible is there. Even Bess and George were surprised to hear this. George reminded Nancy that not only had the girls and boys searched the castle, but also that the police had. But they didn't search the grounds, Nancy countered. That's true, Chief Burke admitted. Goodness. I lost my connection for a sec. Everything's good? Everything's okay? My hair's on straight. Oh, hey. Hey. Oh, I was like, where's my mouse? Where's Perino? He's up, he's in a boat. He's fine. He's in a boat. Don't worry about Perino. Right, Perino? You're in your boat there? Nancy asked him if he could spare any officers to go out to the castle with the girls and look around. He agreed and said he would send Sergeant Fawsley and Detective Humphrey with them. The men were called in and introduced. Then they led the girls outside to a police car. The group set off for the castle. When they reached it, Nancy was glad to find the drawbridge still down. She had half expected that when Sug's friends failed to see him signaling, they would have come to find out why. The first thing they would do would be to remove the stones and wires holding down the drawbridge and hope to avoid a further search of their secret meeting place by the police. What had happened? Were they afraid to return? The driver parked on the narrow roadway beside the wall. Then the three girls and the two police officers began a thorough and systematic search of the grounds. They had concluded there were plenty of places in which a person might hide a car. Tall grass and weeds grew everywhere. The searchers fanned out around the sides and rear of the castle. I'm gonna find Nancy's car. Oh, there's a picture on this side. There's a picture on this page. Presently, George called out, "I see flattened grass, 2 narrow rows of it. They could be from automobile tires." Nancy and Bess ran to her side. There was no mistaking the tracks. Although the weeds and grass were struggling to an upright position again. Excited, the girls followed the trail. Presently, they reached a slightly depressed area at the end of which was a huge mound of grass. Embedded into the hill was an enormous wooden door. "Your car could be in there," Bess called over her shoulder to Nancy. "Your car could be in there," Bess called over her shoulder to Nancy. Bess was in the lead, but suddenly she stopped and shrieked, "Ugh, a snake! A monstrous snake!" Nancy and George looked at the ground. In front of the door, sunning itself on some rocks, was a 5-foot snake. At the sound of the girls' approach, the reptile raised its head. The forked tongue shot out from its mouth. Car or no car, I'm not staying, said Bess, who started to retreat. George, unafraid, looked around for a rock to throw near the snake and scare it away. "He's just guarding the place," she said with a chuckle. "I can't see what's so funny about that," her cousin retorted, but she stopped running. Don't worry, we're going to get to the picture. The picture is gone, but we haven't read the picture part yet. Picture pages. I don't see what's so funny about that. By this time, George had found a small rock and heaved it toward the reptile. It landed within a few inches of the smooth body. At once, the snake slithered off through the grass. The police, having heard the shouts and Bess's scream, had come from the other side of the castle on a run. By the time they caught up to the girls, Nancy was pulling at the old door. It proved to be too heavy for her to move. At once, Sergeant Fossley and Detective Humphrey stepped forward and gave it a yank. As the huge door opened, Nancy gave a cry of glee. "My car!" she cried. Nancy's got her car back. Finally. I don't even remember when it was stolen. The young sleuth ran inside the large opening, which she guessed had been a root cellar, and climbed behind the wheel of her convertible and kissed the steering wheel and said, "I missed you, my dear." There was no key in the ignition lock, but she had hers in her purse. Quickly, she inserted it into the lock and a second later had started the motor. "It runs," she exclaimed, smiling broadly. The two officers looked on in amazement. Then Sergeant Fossley said, "You are a clever young sleuth. No one else thought of looking on this island for your car." There was a short discussion about the thieves who had taken it. everyone doubted that they planned to use it or sell it. They reached the conclusion that the car had been taken to keep Nancy from sleuthing in the neighborhood. "Apparently you have a reputation all the way up here in Deep River," said Detective Humphrey. "Well, now that you have your car, I guess you don't need us any longer. We'd better get back, Fossley." The two men hurried off to their own car. They waited, however, to see that Nancy's convertible was still running all right. Then they crossed the drawbridge and sped off. "Let's look around here some more," Nancy suggested. "With luck, maybe we'll find some clues to the identity of Suggs' pals." "Not on your life," Bess retorted. "Nancy Drew, don't forget your promise to Ned." Nancy gave a sigh of resignation. She had just driven onto the drawbridge when the girls heard creaking, groaning sounds in the wood beneath them. The next second, the bridge began to lift. Bess screamed, "Nancy, the bridge is opening! We'll be thrown off!" End of chapter 16. Or 15, I don't remember. And here is the picture. Nancy's car. "Nancy," Bess screamed, "we'll be thrown off." Uh-oh. That might be the end of the roadster. Yep, that was 16. All right, now I really have to go. That was a fun 2 chapters, right? And I'll see you later. Thanks everyone for joining me.